Welcome to Warman, an all-new edition of SJHL Weekly. We are not in the studio. We are live in Warman ahead of the 2023 SJHL Showcase, which will get going today here in Warman. It's going to be a great 4 days of the event, but we have lots to get into here on SJHL Weekly to get you set for the 4-day event. So let's bring in our co-hosts, as always, Rory McGouran, Neugebauer, Jeromy Corrigan. Guys, we've been waiting for it all year. We had to wait a bit longer this year compared to the years past, but it's great to be back in Warman.
Yeah, I think it's terrific to have it in November for a bunch of reasons that we'll probably get into. But the number one thing is that we get to know who's on the team already before we get here, because in September, sometimes, obviously, you do research, you do your best, but we all really know some solid rosters now and have a lot to talk about. Should be a lot of fun. Can't wait for this.
Yeah, it's always one time on the calendar that you're so excited to look forward to, whether it's in early October or now, which is the more proper time in the middle of November. Teams get a little bit more time to evaluate the roster, right? We've seen a plethora of trades, sort of shape-shifting coaches, figuring out what they need to do. And now the players that will play, you know, everyone on the roster should get a chance in one of the two games, but they just have more of a sense of who they are, which obviously gives a better show for the fans, for everyone watching on Flow Hockey throughout the event, and of course the scouts as well, who are, you know, the main reason for these kids trying to get that post-secondary education.
And important games, of course, too. The valuable points on the line as well for these games here at the SJHL Showcase. But before we get into that, let's quickly recap this past weekend. We have to get into the 8 games that were on the schedule in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Friday, 5 games on tap. Estevan knocked off Melville 4-3. Yorkton 5-2 over Nipawin. Weyburn falling 4-3 in a shootout to the Battleford's North Stars. Kindersley handing the Humboldt Broncos their first regulation loss, and the Melfort Mustangs knocking off LaRange 5-3. And then on Saturday, just the 3 games, Estevan knocking off Melville 7-1. Nipawin coming back, winning 4-3 over the Melfort Mustangs in overtime, and then Battleford sweeping those 2 games at the ACC in North Battleford. And that's where we're going to start here tonight. Battleford Weyburn, we saw them meet in the playoffs last year. It was a great playoff series that Battleford obviously ended up winning. The season series has been great between the two clubs, and Battleford right now, they're on a roll.
They're on a roll. Finally, Kean Bell plays a game for Battleford that doesn't get a point. And also, Weyburn goes to overtime. Throughout preseason and regular season, Weyburn has been to overtime 11 times out of 23 games.
That's a lot.
That is wild for the Weyburn Red Wings. But 2 more wins, Rory, for this Battleford's North Stars team that since they acquired Kean Bell, their power play up over the 30%, 31% since they got Kean Bell on the power play. Yeah. If you're in that little stratosphere, you're doing good things, and the good times keep rolling for the Battleford North Stars.
They certainly do. What a winning streak they are on for the, you know, with Kean Bell coming back to the team, and the Battleford North Stars now lead the league in goals for. They have played a few more games, but it seems like they are becoming more and more confident with who they are. They have 12 players with over a double-digit points, so they're getting consistency throughout all their lineup. The young defensemen that have come in, we know how good Carson Olsen is, but guys like Gavin Granger, they're getting a little bit more accustomed to the SJHL. And then, of course, Justin Merrick and Joey Hocko and net have been great over the past 2 weeks. But I think getting Kean Bell back, who now leads the team in points in 7 games, it's really been that spark that Battleford has needed to reignite who they were from last year. They're on a roll.
Yeah, 2 big wins. Got to mention Carson Olsen, of course. Maybe I took the words out of your mouth. Carson Olsen committing to UMass Lowell. Really excited for him. Another Division I NCAA commit here in the SJHL. And, you know, look, we wondered what this Battleford's team would be. Would they take a second to catch their breath, I guess, after a long season last year, all the way to the Centennial Cup finals? Well, their breath is caught. Like, they're okay. Got to give the Weyburn Red Wings a lot of credit. They never quit throughout the whole weekend either. A lot of us have gone up to the ACC, and it's not been a fun time, as I've talked about over many weekends. But this Weyburn team never quits under Cody Mapes, and we can talk about that with him later. Yeah, they are tough to beat. The train is rolling. The offense is rolling. Their power play is unstoppable, and they have 6 wins in a row. They were 500, Jeromy, on October the 26th. Now they're 12-6, so
they've certainly put themselves in the upper echelon of the SJHL, and I love the way the showcase is starting, because we're talking about Weyburn, who had 2 great games against the Battleford North Stars. Well, they're going to get the Flin Flon Bombers in the opening game here of the showcase at 4:30. So It is not easy for Weyburn to start it off. They didn't have a great showcase last year.
They sure didn't.
And it's going to be an exciting way to kick it off here in Warman.
Yeah, and I can't wait to ask Cody Mapes about that, because obviously last year, Rory mentioned it, the showcase wasn't too kind to the Weyburn Red Wings, for sure. We talked about Weyburn. Let's stick in the Viterra division. The Estevan Bruins, Melville Millionaires, they played a home-and-home this weekend. And we talked about Battleford's being on a roll. So is Estevan. They've won 5 in a row. They get a 4-3 win on the road on Friday, and then an impressive 7-1 win at home on Saturday.
I think everything is happening at the right time for the Estevan Bruins. We were never panicking. We were never worried, but we also looked at a roster before the season that we thought was tops in the league, if not 1-2 with Flin Flon, right? It's like this team needs more. And I don't want to say that they, live and die with Cam Hrdlicka, but getting him back at the same time as the team is now glued together and really starting to roll, it's perfect for Estevan and Jason Tatarnic and their fans down at Affinity Place. They've been just as good as the Battlefords North Stars. The top 2 teams in the SJHL right now are Estevan and Battlefords. And, well, you won't have to wait long for those 2 teams to play. No. It'll be the second game of the showcase, Estevan versus Battleford. So what a Monday we have here. But, even the second-line guys like Chmielewski and Dussault, we all know what Little can do on the top line and with McMillan and Barrow, but they're also getting consistency, and Estevan is exactly who we thought they would be. Just took a little bit longer than we expected.
Yeah, and the depth for the Estevan Bruins just keeps growing, right? Yeah. They bring in 2 familiar guys, and Zach Burfoot from the North American Hockey League, and Zach Burns comes back as well. And Jason Tatarnic and I spoke about 3-4 days ago about the fact that he was trying to figure out where different guys fit in his lineup. Is this guy a top 6 guy? Is this a bottom 6 guy? Where do they fit? How does it work? I think he's getting a much better sense. Obviously, you bring in a Turner McMillan, who is a premium player in this league. That really settles everybody into a slot that Jason Tatarnic can pit them every single night. And once you know your role, you can own that role, be elite at it. And I think that's what's really happening to Estevan Bruins. It's all come together. And my last point, and I'll make it even harder when we talk about Yorkton.
Sure.
When you trust your goalie, great things happen. Jackson Miller did a great job. I thought pretty good job in relief when Cam Hrdlicka was out for a while. But the Estevan team plays 3-4 inches taller when Cam's in the net. Just calms everything down. It never ceases to amaze me how much better a team plays when they really, really believe in the goalie behind them.
And what I was going to add, too, is I chatted with Jason Tatarnic prior to Friday's game and talked about Zach Burfoot coming into the lineup for their hockey club. But you look at their forward group now, and that's a forward group that Jason feels very comfortable rolling all 4 lines because it's very deep. It was Gabriel Filion was playing on the 4th line on Friday night, and we know how skilled he is in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Nugsy mentioned Yorkton. Let's talk about the Terriers. We haven't had many positives to talk about with the Terriers this season, but they're going to get their flowers now because they've had such a good week. Obviously, they knocked off the Notre Dame Hounds on Wednesday, but then they earn a big win on the road at the Cage against the Nipawin Hawks Friday, and you touched on it. They got good goaltending as well.
Yeah, they brought in Ethan Farrow from Danbury in the North American Hockey League. He hadn't played since October the 21st, till last Wednesday in Wilcox against the Hounds, and he was outstanding. He was outstanding again against Nipawin. He's a guy that played behind Chase Ham at OCN last year on Doug Johnson's OCN Blizzard team, and guy who's big. He moves well in the net. He was really, really good. And, I did remark on that broadcast on Wednesday in Wilcox that, I think the Yorkton Terriers have their answer. In net, he was terrific. But then another element to the Yorkton Terriers, Rory, and I know you're a big fan of Tyson Perkins too. Yep. When he's in the lineup, it's so big. The Yorkton Terriers are -23 as a team in their goal difference. Tyson Perkins is +1 on the year. Yeah. So just do the math, simple math. He needs to stay in the lineup. He's been suspended a couple times this year. He knows that. I'm sure Emery Olausen has talked to him plenty about it. Stay in the lineup, Tyson, and that'll make the Yorkton Terriers a lot better. It is interesting in the game of hockey at every level when a certain guy or two are in the lineup versus when they aren't. It always does make a huge difference. And when Tyson Perkins in for Yorkton, he does.
What he's so good at is his ability to alleviate pressure out of the defensive zone. And when they weren't getting goaltending, they couldn't get the puck out. It was just teams coming after them. That's why they're letting goals in. A guy like Tyson Perkins can move the puck both with passes, elite skating ability, and then jump into the offensive rush. So it just takes so much pressure off of a lot of your forwards coming back when Perkins is so good with the puck in his own zone to translate back up ice. Yeah, he's got to stay in the lineup. And with Ethan Farrow in there, that's the one thing Yorkton really had to shore up was defensive. They were allowing way too many goals. We know that they have a lot of returning players, Dylan Ruptash, Clay Sleva up front. There's a lot of great talent in Yorkton. So Perkins being back and Ethan Farrow in net, two big pieces. Yorkton's only 4 points out of that playoff line. So they turned it around, and we'll see if they can keep it going here at the Showcase. Yeah,
and it could have been expected that the Yorkton Terriers might have gone off to a slow start because of how late Emery Olafson came into the organization. But it appears last week they may have turned it around for the Yorkton Terriers.
Look at the standings right now, too. And, you get Yorkton pushing up, Kindersley pushing up, Estevan now jumping up into, top 6-5 territory. You get Weyburn and Melfort, who are 500 over the past 10 games, right? It is really pushing it together from 4 to 9 here, which is interesting.
I mean, we'll talk about the Showcase teams games that we're looking forward to, but I really think Yorkton has a very pivotal week here coming up here at the Showcase. They've got Melville, who's a little bit ahead of them, and they got Larange, who's a little bit behind them. And boy, oh boy, those are going to be really interesting to watch. Probably get the Melfort Mustangs too. But I think my point is that the Yorkton Terriers have a very interesting week here ahead. Whether they're for real, whether their turnaround is for real, and I think they got some players. Brett Butts is finally finding his offense, scored in overtime, and Woodcock scored again. He'd only had one goal before the week, and then now he's got 3. So he's a bit on fire. This Yorkton Terriers team, are they for real? We'll find out this week.
Well, let's move on and talk about the Melfort Mustangs, a team that we talked about at the beginning of the year. First couple of weeks, they were the hottest team in the league. They got off to such a good start, but as of late, they're just up and down, and this past weekend was no different. They earn a win at home, and then they fall in overtime to the Nipawin Hawks.
It seems to be the same scenario which we
talked like deja vu
last year, right? Such a great start, and then it's just a little bit of purgatory right now. We're not really sure what to expect for the Melfort Mustangs. In fact, you mentioned this past weekend that they split again. They've split their last 4 weekends. They have not been able to find consistency in those home and homes. You look at James Venn, who had that elite start to the year. He still leads the league in wins, but he's alternated them the past 6 games, and he has just as many games below 900 save percentage than he does 900 and above. So it starts from the net out. Your goaltender, if he is, struggling to find that elite consistency we expect of James Venn, and then it goes up through the team. And right now, it's a team that's 500 over the last 10 games. They just seem to take one step forward, one step back. We know how much talent they have on there. When Zach Summers is on the ice, they're a much better team. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Melfort Mustangs, but again, exact same as last year. It's just consistency issues.
Yeah, I got Yorkton and Kindersley schedules mixed up. Sorry about that. But anyways, back to the Melfort Mustangs. Absolutely. James Venn and Christian Coombs, his backup. No team in the league has a wider split in terms of a starting goalie playing more minutes than the backup. We did ask Trevor Blevins, what's the split going to be? Is it James Venn year to really own the net for the first time in a while?
40 plus games, right?
Yeah, etc. And he said, it's his net. He's been patient. He's stuck with the Melfort Mustangs organization, not taking a shot at James Venn. He's a terrific goalie in the league. I think he leads the league in goal wins as a goalie as well still. Yeah. So, it's been a terrific year for James Venn still. And, the question is there any tiredness factor? Well, I guess we'll find out this week as well from James Venn. Should be very interesting. And just a quick point about the Nipawin Hawks. So you can see there on the replay there at the end of the second period, it was 3-1 Melfort. Melfort dominating there at the cage, and I know a lot of people are anti-fighting and this and that, but I think there's a little bit of a place of using fighting, I guess, to get emotion going. Luke Chase with a big hit that made this whole brouhaha start. He and Prasovsky had a terrific fight, and Clark Stork, the broadcaster for the Nipawin Hawks, was all excited about it on the broadcast there. But it galvanized the Nipawin Hawks clearly. They rallied there against a very good team and scored, 2 goals to tie it in the third, went to overtime, and we're going to see, I think, eventually a really nice power play goal in overtime for the Nipawin Hawks. But talk about a team that never says die, the Nipawin Hawks, Jeremy.
But one thing I just want to say with Nipawin, we talked about the last couple of weeks with Melfort and the inconsistency. You can look at the Nipawin Hawks and inconsistency this entire season so far through to almost 20 games. They're 500, and I think everybody expected a lot more from the Nipawin Hawks so far this season, and they've just gotten off to a bit of a slow start.
Yeah, Cunningham was out for a bit. Ratzlaff was out for a bit. When you're losing your captain and your starting netminder, it's going to be tough to, put together winning streaks. But their decor is, young. Ronan Buckberger, one of the best in the league, but he's still young. There's going to be learning curves. Vito Biondo, he's great. But again, it's I think it's just a little bit of experience things going on with the Nipawin Hawks right now. That's why they brought in 2 20-year-olds, Alex Bernauer, and of course Artem Grabovetsky, thank you. I just called their game last week, so I should have remembered that one, but I didn't want to make a mistake on it, so thank you. But they're just trying to bring in a little bit more experience to get a little bit more of that consistency from the Nipawin Hawks. I just want to go back to the Melfort Mustangs for a second, too, and have you ever seen them be the most penalized team in the SJHL? I don't remember being them that. And it's not that they're undisciplined. Their time shorthanded is only 79. Some are above 100, right? But they're taking, 14 10-minute misconducts, 11 game misconducts, a lot of major penalties. If you get guys in boxes for 10 minutes, we're talking about inconsistency. It's tough. Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny when it's interesting to think about anyways, coaches putting an impact on their team. And, the Melfort Mustangs, they hired Ty Sugar to be their assistant, former player in this league. He played a rough and tough and on the edge style as well. L'Orange has Kyle Schneider as their assistant coach. And, obviously Kevin Kaminsky was a tough customer in his day. But, it's interesting. This Melfort Mustangs team does need to find that discipline. But they, every year I think the Melfort Mustangs go through a bit of a period where we're wondering, is Trevor Blevins losing them? What are they going to be like? And Blevins makes a move or two and they figure it out. And they're always terrific by the end. Again, I'm not worried about Melfort, especially since Aiden Hutchinson and Zach Summers are both back in the lineup, and that's so big.
Speaking of moves, they just did.
Yeah. But that game between Melfort and Nipawin this past weekend was a great one of the games of the week. But that is where we find our Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the weekend. Have a look.
Cunningham goes to play it behind his net. And he turns it over, and Summers is stopped by Cunningham. Unbelievable save as he dives across to keep it out.
It's always scary seeing a goalie go out of their net like that and play the puck. And your biggest fear as a goalie is turning it over. So I would love to know what Damon Cunningham's heart rate was when he passed that puck. But what an effort to get back and make the save.
Damon strikes me really as a really calm kid, too. So,
most goalies' heart rate, I think, stay at like 62 beats per minute. Low.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you watch the Nipawin Hawks this year, and you've watched them almost more than anybody, the Nipawin Hawks themselves. But when you watch the Tyson Endall play, he's so aggressive playing the puck. And Damon Cunningham's usually the one staying home. So when I first saw that highlight, I'm like, oh, Tyson Endall, did it finally kind of burn him? Oh, what a great save. Oh, no, wait, it's Damon Cunningham.
Yeah.
But anyways, Tyson usually almost never gets in trouble with it. He's just very aggressive with it. But either way, a terrific save by Damon Cunningham in the end.
All right. Well, finally, before we get into announcing players of the week this week, we have to talk about the Kindersley Clippers knocking off the Humboldt Broncos, the first regulation loss for the Humboldt Broncos this season, and it was a back-and-forth hockey game. Rory, what did you see?
Last 2 games between these 2 teams have been exceptional. Kindersley can push the top teams in the SJHL. They are going to figure this out. I like them to be the team that is out of the playoff picture right now to get back in by the time playoff rolls around. Humboldt was a depleted lineup. They had 8 regulars out due to either suspensions, injuries, or illness. But they weren't playing with any excuses, and Kindersley didn't let them. Their power play for the Clippers with that right side load up with Danton Cox and Logan Linklater, Tylen Hilbig down low, and then they use Keenan Ingram on the swing around the left side. They are really, really good. That power play is under 20% right now, but I expect that to raise with those 5 slotted in on that top unit. Logan Falk played exceptional. But for the Humboldt Broncos, it's just, you knew it was going to happen eventually, right? It wasn't only the first time they lost in regulation. It was the first time at any point this season that they trailed by 2 goals, and the first time at any point this season that they allowed their opponent to score 3 straight goals. So, I mean, to take that 16 games into the year is pretty impressive. This is a loss. Learn from it. Let the leaders lead. Coming into the showcase, move on. And you got 2 big games against Melville and L'Orange here coming up.
Yeah, and it's got to be quite the validation for Clayton Jardine, too. He's been preaching, hey, be patient. Like, there's a group here that really is hungry to win, to buy into what I'm preaching. Again, he's a new coach with this group of players, not new to the organization, but new to this group of players. They really believe in Clayton, in Kindersley, and, again, for good reason. And as you said, that power play, and especially at the West Central Event Center.
It's good.
They played Yorkton, right? Not that long ago at the last week at the West Central Event Center, and they had 4 power play goals. They've had another 4 power play goal game as well. They are very, very, very good on the power play. So if you take penalties at the West Central Event Center, you're rarely going to win a hockey game because that power play is lethal. And Logan Linklater, again, I've talked about it many times. Give him time and space. He will quarterback from the half wall wherever he is. He is as good as anybody in the league on the power play.
Exactly what I was going to say. Danton Cox is the quarterback at the top, but Logan Linklater really is the straw that stirs that drink on the power play. He's so elite on the wall, and you have Hilbig down low. You can go back to Cox, or else you got to watch out Keenan Ingram on the far side. Linklater controls it from that side. Of course, he's got a lethal shot as well, but that's one of the most dangerous guys on a man advantage. And it's not usually from the top where you see it kind of work from there. He's down on the wall.
And other than Ingram, like those are all guys that know each other like so well. The Hilbig and Cox and Linklater, they're all returnees, both Coxes. There's a lot of continuity as well from last year in key spots for Kindersley, and that makes them a scary team.
They sure do. Yeah, they're 9th place right now, but I think a lot of us project that the Kindersley Clippers are going to move up the standings for sure. All right, that's a look at the weekend that was in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Let's announce this week's Players of the Week. We get everything from Pat that last week done and over with, and then we can talk about the SJHL Showcase. So let's move into Players of the Week for this week, and let's start with SGEU MVP of the Week. From the Weyburn Red Wings, Jeromy Maharaj. He's been outstanding since being acquired for the Weyburn Red Wings, and this past week he was no different. Yeah,
the thing about Jeromy Maharaj, 2 things is, one is he moves so well without the puck. He gets in great spots. He's rarely in trouble because even though he leaks out to the neutral zone to get part of those odd man rush opportunities, and then when he gets a chance, kid never misses. Like, he is so money in those grade A opportunities, and continues to show that for Weyburn.
All right, so congratulations to Jerome, SGEU MVP of the week. Moving on to Bourgault Forward of the Week from the Nipawin Hawks. He's won a couple of awards already this week. Braxton Buckberger, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's leading the charge and quietly climbing up the stats leaders in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League.
You talk about a straw that stirs the drink. It's Braxton Buckberger, right? He plays with so much emotion. His opponents hate going up against him, and he can really do everything. You talk about the power play with Linklater and Danton Cox. Well, Braxton Buckberger and Ronan Buckberger, kind of the same way on that right side and up top. Elite. And Braxton, he's... he can be a pest out there. He can use his words. He can use his physicality, but then he's also going to score on you and make you pay if you let him have that much room. But impressive week for Braxton. I don't think it'll be the last time we hear his name in the Players of the Week.
Yeah, he might get a lot of attention here at the SJHL Showcase for sure. So congratulations to Braxton Buckberger. Bourgault Forward of the Week. And moving on to Super U Defenseman of the Week, Nugsy, a guy that just not too long ago was Super U Defenseman of the Week. Tanner Gold, the captain of the Battleford North Stars.
Yeah, he does everything right, and a couple more wins in a 6-game win streak for Battleford's the captain. Kills penalties, power play, at least as a decoy on the power play. Again, he does a little bit of everything. Is he out there hunting for his own offense? No, he isn't, but he does his own. Takes care of his own business. There's not really a lot of holes, especially at this level, for Tanner Gold. He moves pucks quick and listens to what Braden Klomosko's taught him. He's grown a lot under Braden, and big-time kudos again to Tanner Gold.
It was a great interview. We had him on the show.
I was just going to say, past SJHL Weekly guest. We got the SJHL Weekly bump.
He probably has a better broadcaster voice than I do.
It's a great one.
Maybe we'll put a poll up and we'll get that poll answered for you, Nugsy. So congratulations, Tanner, Super U Defenseman of the Week. Moving on, Direct West Rookie of the Week. Had a big week also for the Nipawin Hawks, Rory. Landon Pappas of the Hawks, a goal and 4 assists.
Yeah, great. One of those defensemen, that we talked about before is just looking to kind of find the SJHL game and find some consistency. We know they rely heavily on Vito Biondo and Ronan Buckberger on that top pairing. So when Landon Pappas, picks up 5 points in 3 games played, it's really welcome for Tad Kozin and the Nipawin Hawks. That's a heck of a week.
For sure. So congratulations, Landon, for being Direct West Rookie of the Week. Moving on, Nugsy, a guy you saw on Wednesday, SaskTel Goalie of the Week, Ethan Farrow. 2 big wins for the Yorkton Terriers and a sub-goals against average of 2.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking on the SJHL Insider wondering about rest and whether that's good, and rust, whether, how bad that is if you're off for a long time. No trouble for Ethan Farrow coming in 2 quick games, and he was dynamite for Yorkton. I think that was a big thing where the Terriers were like, we need some stability in net. Let's try to find it. They brought in Adam Kelly. They traded away Caleb Allen. They've been trying Blake Sittler. It's been a bit of a revolving door in net a little bit in Yorkton. Like, from what I saw, it's a small sample size.
Right.
but he seems like the answer. He was awesome in Wilcox, and he was awesome again in Nipawin.
It's crazy what a goalie can do, too.
It's amazing.
Right, for like the whole mojo of the team.
Huge.
Yeah, huge.
So congratulations, Ethan, SaskTel goalie of the week. And finally, Rory, Saskatchewan player of the week, a player that's, I don't know if he's actually received an award yet this season, but he's been very good for the Estevan Bruins. Keegan Little, another impressive performance, 4 assists in 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know if Little's had anything, but expect the Estevan Bruins to start rolling a lot of names throughout the players of the week. He's the captain. He's on that top line. Is he the flashiest of players? No, but he goes into the corners. He'll bury you. He'll get that puck out, and then he'll set someone up. Keegan Little is as good as any 200-foot centerman in the SJHL, and the captain of the Bruins for the Saskatchewan Player of the Week.
Saskatchewan Player of the Week, Keegan Little, congratulations. And, of course, if you want to learn more about all the players of the week this week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, go to sjhl.ca. The article is up right now. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be pleased to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes, get his thoughts on his start to the season and much, much more. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
And now down to Bruce Buff.
It's time for Truckmania at Capital GMC. Get rates as low as 0.99% and savings up to $8,000 on a new GMC Sierra. Plus, used trucks with low rates and no payments for 90 days. It's Truckmania at Capital GMC in Regina.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window, and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
All right, back inside the Legends Center here in Warman. It's an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Rory, it's Jamie, it's Jeromy. Thanks so much for tuning in to this special edition ahead of the SJHL Showcase, which begins at 4:30 this afternoon, and it will feature the team coached by our guest, Cody Mapes, head coach and GM of the Weyburn Red Wings. Cody, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, first and foremost, busy weekend for you guys. 2 games in Battleford. I know not the results exactly you would have liked, but what did you think of your team's performance?
Well, yeah, the 3 and 4 on the road, we end up with the 3 points, which at the end of the day is the bare minimum you want to get when you go. And I thought the Friday night game we were a resilient group. We found a way to push it right till the end. And at the end of the day, we had probably 4 chances to win that hockey game and missed on them. So, that's definitely, you can look at that as a positive for sure. That Battleford team is a very, very good team. They're a long ways from what they were in September, and that's I don't think should surprise anybody. And the Saturday night game, yeah, I thought we were good, but at the end of the day, if you give guys like Kean Bell and Portner and those guys, you give them 7 power plays, it's probably not a recipe for success. So at the end of the day, I do think that we played well, and we can hang with the big boys here as we've kind of seen. So we'll see how the week goes, but playing Battleford 4 times in about 14 days is kind of shows you what you are. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Big time measuring stick. Speaking of big boys, seems like the guy that always seems to show up for you every night is Daza Mitchell. I wanted to ask you what kind of makes him so great night in, night out, because it seems like consistency, talk about a guy who's not the biggest goalie in the world, but every night, he seems to bring it for you guys. Just talk about what you've seen, the growth from Daza over the years.
He's just been so consistent. He's his practice habits over the last probably 18 months have gone through the roof. And honestly, you go back to some of the guys that he was partnered with, like a guy like Boston Gelowitz. He learned a lot from him in practice and stuff like that. And Daza's, you're not going to find many guys that are technically as good, but he's definitely, his work ethic's gone through the roof over the last 18 months kind of thing. Like you really saw him turn a corner, with his stats and stuff in Christmas time last year. And as he went, our team kind of went last year after Christmas, and he was as important as anybody else was with that group. And he's kind of picked up where he's left off last year, which is good to see. And the boys love playing in front of them. There's a little extra jam, and I think most teams have that when they're when they have their guy that's playing. And the guys definitely love playing for him.
I just want to piggyback on that question because we talked about Daza early in the season on this show, and he actually reached out to you, Nugs. He kind of giving, thankfulness of, I've been overlooked a lot in my career, and you guys talking about me really means a lot. Does he have that chip on his shoulder and kind of carries that with him, that edge to want to be the best because maybe he has been overlooked in the past? Yeah, you know what? He's definitely a confident kid. Like he's definitely been overlooked at times, and I think most goalies that come up through Bantam and U18 that are 5'3", 5'5", they don't get a lot of love. And he was on my team through Bantam as well, and he carried us to a provincial final. He was then going to be a real big part of the Pac Canadians when COVID hit, and so he didn't get that opportunity. So he basically went from U16 right into the SJHL, and probably that Christmas time of his 17-year-old year, he's been the starter ever since, and he's pushed himself to get better. And you know what? I think there's definitely a little chip to him that he wants to prove guys wrong. And it's funny, there's a guy from this area of the province that is doing a lot in the NCAA right now that he kind of is hoping to mirror himself after. Another 5'10" guy that ran 930 as a 19-year-old, ran 930 as a 20-year-old, and now he's doing quite well in Division I. So I know that Daza watches guys like that and really hopes that his work ethic can earn him that opportunity as well.
Another player I wanted to touch on with you, Cody, is just your captain, Max Manette's a guy that was, your third-line center last year. Now he's captain of your hockey club, playing first line. And, I mean, last time we saw you guys live, Nugsy and I said, every big face-off, Max Manette is out there, and more times than not, he's winning it. What does he mean to your hockey club?
Well, you look at the position he was put in last year, playing with Matthew Reedy, and down the stretch, like they played an obscene amount of minutes against the best players in the league, and they matched against Bell and Southgate and Dole in the playoffs. And you know, if Reedy, not saying that, you know, I think we would have beat Battleford or anything like that, but I think that series stays a lot tighter if Reedy doesn't get hurt, doesn't get suspended. And him and Max were unbelievable. They're the way they play responsibly, and but now Max has really kind of found a running mate with Jerome and with Ruthven, and they're I think we're kind of starting to see the entire game of Max Manette. We knew last year, he's a good face-off guy, he's responsible, all that. Now we're seeing that he's an elite skater. He's quick. He can shoot the puck like a pro, and he's not fancy. I overheard you guys talking about Buckberger too. Like guys like that are they're not fancy, but they find a way to just get the job done. They win faceoffs, they block shots, they play in every situation, and they really kind of do drive the bus for their team for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you know, a guy like Max Manette, obviously Jerome Maharaj, and the list kind of goes on of guys that really hope to make a name and stick out here at this showcase. I want to ask you about your coaching philosophy heading into this showcase. Is it a thing where you say to your guys, like, this is just another 2 hockey games that we need to win, or this is kind of a playoff style feel because there's scouts watching and we're here in Warman and the Legend Center and neutral site and all that? I guess what's the message to your guys given the circumstance that we're in?
You know what? The games are important. They're league games. They count for the standings, all that. So, you definitely still sell that part of it. But the guys know if you told them it didn't matter, they'd see right through it anyway. So, you gotta let them, know what it's all about and what to expect and how to manage, different stresses and stuff like that too, and just putting them in situations to succeed. So I mean, that's gonna be important for us here, is just making sure our guys are in positions that they're familiar with and just in a spot to succeed for sure.
Do you take anything from last year's showcase, just kind of experience you gained and maybe your returning players have gained to, go into this year with some success?
Yeah, don't get beat 8-1 by Battlefield. We'll learn from that for sure. No, you know what? I think as the second-year guys, the third-year guys that have played in it before, they just they know what to expect. There's not the walking around the rink kind of looking what's going on, and it's a little more straight to business. Sure. And looking at our lineup today, we've only got, I think, 3 rookies in our lineup. So I mean, everybody coming in is going to be fairly comfortable with the idea of a showcase. They've all been in one before, so.
I'll ask you this, just regarding the Viterra division this year. I mean, you haven't seen Melville yet, but you played Yorkton lots. You've seen Estevan. We talked about the Viterra division this year, and just from top to bottom, how tight it is. What do you make of the division this year?
Oh yeah, I think you guys pretty much hit it on the head early on. I know that. Estevan's going to continue to get better. Melville, Doug's going to have that team competitive all year. Yeah. No matter how young they are, he's going to do a great job there. And Emery is continuing to add. I mean, getting Farrow, I think, adds a huge part to their team and is going to make them. You look at the games that we played earlier on against them. If the goaltending is a little different in those 3 games, the outcomes could have been very different. So they're going to be ultra competitive too with that group of forwards they had that came back. And I would be shocked if there's much of a point spread by Christmas time or March 1st.
Doesn't that make it just exciting, though, to kind of have your guys fired up for divisional games, seeing how competitive that division is? Like, I think it just means more playing those games.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a little more dialed in your preparation. You're a little more familiar with the teams, and there's a little bit more on the line. Which when the chips are down, that's what the guys get excited for, and that's why we all want to play.
Yeah, for sure. Last one for me, Cody. You talk about not getting beat 8-1 by Battleford. The challenge for you today, obviously not any smaller. Number 1 team in the SJHL rankings, the Flin Flon Bombers, are your team's matchup here to kick off the showcase. How are you going to beat them? Tell us the secret.
Well, you know what? We had them 3 weeks ago at home, and I don't think it's a secret. Your goaltending is going to have to be good. Those guys, Anderson and Lees and those guys, they're going to get their chances. You got to try to limit them. And like I said before about our trip here, you're going to have to stay disciplined. when they got that many big guns, you can't give them more than what they're going to earn, because like I said, they're going to get their opportunities. Don't help them get them. So just stay off the penalty kill as much as possible, and I think our group can skate with them. That's going to be the biggest thing, and so we'll make sure that we try to take away time and space as much as possible, and kind of see where it lands. We'll try and run with the big dogs, I guess.
Okay, a quick time live in Warman at the Showcase. We got Rory's Rapid Fire coming up. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Okay, you mentioned the 8-1 loss to the Battlefords, but the Showcase is always a great time. Do you have a certain memory from last year that you kind of carry with you in the Showcase?
You know what, the in game, the Flin Flon game last year was competitive. I think we had a couple guys showcase pretty well, and it led to them getting opportunities down the stretch, and that's what this is all about. So, is
there a player this year? I mean, you obviously have a lot on your roster that scouts are going to be watching, but maybe one that's kind of flying under the radar that when you talk to someone, you're like, hey, just key in on this guy a bit because he's maybe not getting the eyes that he deserves.
Well, I think it probably is, our two guys, like we talked about Max Manette, where his biggest thing might have been being responsible, where that's not, that doesn't become flashy, right? So, he's a guy. On the other hand, Maharaj is very flashy, and I think coming over from the AJ, guys didn't know exactly what he was going to be in a limited offensive role last year, and I think he's kind of opened some eyes this year for sure. And Daz and Mitchell again, and even a guy like Rhett Vedras. I mean, he's a 6'4", good skating defenseman. His offensive game has to kind of come around a little bit, but it's instantly a guy skates like that and he's 6'4", he catches some eyes. So
100%.
If he has a couple good games here, he might get a little bit momentum moving forward too.
It was Nick Nielsen's birthday yesterday. What'd you get for him?
Nothing. I did wish him happy birthday, but I dropped the ball on that one.
So there's something owing in the future, I guess.
There's probably something owing in the future.
It's okay. Brett doesn't have any idea when my birthday is. So
I'm not sure if viewers knew this. Nick Nielsen used to be a pretty good wrestler back in his high school days, from what I've heard. If you had to put one Weyburn Red Wing up against Nick in a wrestling match, who would you put up against him?
Oh man. Ruthven, he's feisty. I think. I don't know if Nick can handle his feistiness. He's quick. He's kind of like a cat. So Ruthven's my guy.
And because we have one current and one former Notre Dame Hound in the middle, I'll let Nugsy finish it off with the last one.
Well, just my question. Obviously, played junior Hounds in the '90s. There, just. What was your favorite thing to eat at varsity there in Woodcock?
Did you just say I played in the 90s?
Or in the 2000s?
Not even close either.
I'm old, okay? I'm losing my mind.
I didn't want to get paired up with you with that. So,
bad memory.
My favorite thing to eat? Oh, it had to be the grilled cheese and tomato soup, the tater tots. Is that still a staple?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Shout out. And the chocolate milk.
When did you play, just to see how far off he was?
Oh, 2007. It wasn't even close. 2006, 7, and 8.
90s, 2007.
2007.
Yeah, born in 77.
Whatever. You could have been a prodigy. I don't know.
Oh, there you go, Nugsy. Well, Cody, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and best of luck tonight against the Flin Flon Bombers.
Thanks.
All right, that's head coach and GM of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes. After the break, we will preview the rest of the SJHL Showcase here in Warman. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Making the impossible possible. That's what the Silverado 1500 does.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers, and that's a big reason why we exist, and what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things, and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA, and respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Have a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you. Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
Back inside the Legends Center here at the 2023 SJHL Showcase, which will get going in about 2.5 hours for the first game between the Weyburn Red Wings and the Flin Flon Bombers. Thanks so much for tuning in to this special edition of SJHL Weekly, live from Warman ahead of the SJHL Showcase. And we need to take a look at the schedule for the 2023 Showcase, which you can watch. You can come to Warman and catch all 12 games for the 2023 SJHL Showcase. Or, of course, you can tune in live on Flow Hockey. You will get a full slate of play-by-play and color commentators as we bring you the 2023 SJHL Showcase. There's the full list of the schedule. Like we said, it all gets going today with a pair of games, and both of them are going to be doozies as the Weyburn Red Wings take on the Flin Flon Bombers 4:30. And the Estevan Bruins and Balford's North Stars meet, of course, the Bruins on a 5-game winning streak and the Stars on a 6-game winning streak. Let's start with the games tonight, guys. Obviously, we teased it a little bit during the first block, just how good these two games are going to be. We mentioned it with Cody. Obviously, the Weyburn Red Wings don't want to lose 8-1 to the Flin Flon Bombers again, but that'll be an interesting matchup because we've seen how well Weyburn usually is, the style that they want to play is strong defensively, and we've seen how good they are defensively if they get the lead. But playing a Flin Flon Bombers team with a lot of weapons, it's going to be a tough task for them.
Well, talk about getting the lead. It's tough to do against the Flin Flon Bombers, who scored the first goal of the game 14 times in 16 games. Only twice they haven't scored the first goal. They've won 13 of those 14 games. But the last time these two teams played, they went into a shootout. Cody Mapes talked about it. Daza's going to have to be on his game. Flin Flon has a plus 260 shot differential. They have a plus 48 goal differential. They're first in shots for, first in shots against, first in goals for, second in goals against. It is going to come at you hard. And
they're good.
Daz is going to have to be on his game, but we've seen Weyburn go up against Battlefords this past week, play really competitive. Go up against Flin Flon earlier in the season, really competitive. Estevan competitive. So really great game to start off the Showcase. Looking forward to it. And the second one's just as good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about you talk about, the favorite and who's the underdog and whatever. Often at these showcases, you throw out that script, right?
Sure.
Because it's a neutral situation. Both teams are kind of like a little nervous. Who's in the crowd? What's going on? What's the situation? You really hard to predict, what's going to happen. And I think that could be a good thing for this Weyburn team. A lot of people probably just going to tune in and be like, another win for Flin Flon, with no disrespect to Weyburn, just the way that the season has gone for the #1 team in the CJHL. The Flin Flon Bombers just came out, and you can check that out on the SJHL website.
Nice plug, Noogsy. Good job.
There you go. That's part of my job. But you throw that all out, and the last point I'll say about Weyburn is they love being the giant killers. Cody Mapes can rile his guys up. They come out hard against the big boys. Dazza Mitchell brings his best stuff for the big boys, and it's going to be very interesting.
And Estevan Battleford at 7:30. Estevan's on a 5-game winning streak. Battleford's on a 6-game winning streak. Something's got to give tonight. It's going to be a great matchup.
Something's going to snap, and they've only played each other once before the season, with Battleford's picking up the win too. Not that long ago, actually.
Yeah, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at. 6-game winning streak for Battleford's, 5-game winning streak for Estevan. We talked about it earlier in the show. The 2 hottest teams in the SJHL, and it'll be the 2nd game of the showcase at 7:30 tonight. So,
well, I think if you're looking for a team that has the most marquee matchups over this whole week, and I know we'll get to future days in a second here, but Estevan has the 2 marquee matchups that are going to be the hot ticket items. Battleford's tonight, Flin Flon tomorrow night. Those are the games that probably, if people are just I'm going to watch only 2, those are probably the 2. I encourage you to watch every single one, but those are probably the 2 that you circle the brightest colors.
And they scheduled them for primetime.
They sure did.
Yeah, so not the same mistake the NFL's making recently, putting the Bears against Carolina on Thursday.
They're using their minds. The schedule makers are
schedule makers are good here.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look past Monday. Let's look at Tuesday. So Tuesday and Wednesday, obviously, there's the 4 games on the schedule. So Tuesday, Notre Dame versus Melfort at 10:30, bright and early. Melville, Kindersley, 1:30. LaRange, Humboldt, 4:30. Flin Flon versus Estevan, 7:30. I mean, of course, like you guys mentioned, the 7:30 game, obviously, that's a big ticket game. But when you look at Tuesday, what stands out to you guys?
Well, as I meant to say, Kindersley was the team that has a big pivotal week here coming up at the showcase.
I don't think you were wrong to say Yorkton, too, though. Just the way they've been playing.
Well, Kindersley and
There's
Yorkton
a bunch of
really
teams you can make that argument.
Teams that I had a really, really close eye on, when I was thinking about where they are in the standings vis-a-vis where they are, in the teams that they're facing. The Kindersley Clippers are unbeaten in 4. 3 wins over those 4 games. They come in with a lot of confidence. We talked about them a lot in that recap segment. And that Melville Millionaires team is 3 points ahead, a little bit of a skid. Are they going to turn it around? They just brought in Cameron Imai from the Melfort Mustangs to be a veteran piece on that back end that you throw in with Peyton Kistishin and Colby Ball. That's 3 20-year-olds now on that Melville back end. Very talented 3 20-year-olds as well. So it should be very interesting whether Imai can give Melville a big jolt in that game. The Kindersley Clippers and the Melville Millionaires, certainly one that I'm very interested in for tomorrow.
Right?
Yeah, great game. I love the 10:30 games. I don't know if the players do, but it always kind of you talk about never knowing at the showcase. You never know at a 10:30 game at the showcase, right? And we have some good morning games as well. Tomorrow it's the matinee. It's Flin Flon and Estevan. Just that I'm kind of earmarking right now to make sure that I got the butt in the seat for that one. But every game here at the showcase is great. You talk about teams that are below the playoff line. Notre Dame's got 2 tough games. Yorkton, who just won both games on the weekend, have to go play Melfort. Again, a team inconsistent. Nipawin, a team a little inconsistent right now. So can Yorkton string together a 4-game winning streak? There's a lot of great excitement at the showcase right now. And 2 great games today. So if you're watching this and on the fence of getting a Flow Hockey subscription, get it, or get down to Warman here. And because the games today are going to be on fire.
Well, and just to, I guess, piggyback off you said with the 10:30 games, is you just, like you said, you don't know what to expect because a lot of these players are creatures of habit when it comes to their routines and everything. And Clark and I were talking about it on SJHL Insider this past Thursday. When's the last time these players probably played at 10:30?
Yeah,
that's the good.
The meal, like your meal isn't a pregame meal. Like, are you eating at 6:30 in the morning?
Pasta?
Are you eating pasta? Everything is different, right? So, they can have some weird outcomes and lopsided scoring at the 10:30 games.
Yeah, they're always hit and miss for sure. Let's move on to Wednesday. Start with the 10:30 game. Humboldt, Melville, Nipawin versus Notre Dame, Melfort versus Yorkton, then Kindersley versus LaRange. You touched on Noogsy pivotal games for Kindersley here at the showcase, and that'll be an interesting one between 2 teams that are close in the standings.
Yeah, really close. And both Kindersley and LaRange fully fully expect to be playoff teams this year, and neither of them have lived up to the expectations that they had at the start of the year. So there's going to be two very hungry teams. I think about those Nipawin Hawks as well. They come off of that emotional comeback win against the Melfort Mustangs that they had, that late little battle brouhaha, whatever you want to call it, in the second period. It would start with the big hit by Luke Chase, and then it galvanizes the team. That is a huge one for Nipawin. Notre Dame, they desperately need a win. They've played much better hockey, since they made some of those deals to bring in Cole Weyburn and Ashton Breyer and Ty Sauer. They need Vinny Palmerine back on the back end. I've said it once, I've said it again. They need him back. That'll be really, really, really big for both of those teams. I'm really, really interested, not just obviously because I work for Notre Dame, but also just because I think both of those teams will be really, really desperate for that win on Wednesday.
Roy, what stands out for you on Wednesday?
Kindersley is the game for me as well. Both teams, as Nugsy said, outside of the playoff picture, definitely not anywhere near being eliminated, but teams that I would say have underperformed, just like Nugsy, Larange, maybe a little bit more just to where we thought they were going to be this season. Kindersley seems to have found that groove. Larange trying to still. So that's the big game for me. And then I don't know what Humboldt Broncos team is going to come here tonight. Are they still sick? Are they still hurt?
Sure.
They had 8 regulars out of the lineup. So we'll see tomorrow against Larange, but then that's a quick turnaround at 10:30 against Melville, who is looking to get back onto the win track after 2 back-to-back losses to the Bruins.
Yeah, and then obviously the showcase wraps up on Thursday with a pair of games, and fittingly enough, the Weyburn Red Wings, they bookend the SJHL Showcase. They kick it off Monday at 4:30. They close it out Thursday at 1:30. And guess what? They get to play the Battleford's North Stars again, a team that they've been obviously very familiar with. We get a really good game to close out the 2023 Showcase.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I guess we should have asked Cody how they were going to manage going up and down, whether they go home back to Weyburn, whether they stick around. They're probably going to stick around all week. I would be surprised if they did that. Not an easy schedule lately, just period for the Weyburn Red Wings. Obviously, a bunch, 4 of them against the Key and Bell and the Battleford's North Stars, and a bunch of other tough ones as well. But you know what? You got to play the teams ahead of you, and it should be a doozy to end it. And it's another interesting thing too. The Yorkton Terriers, they got a quick turnaround there. They play a 4:30 game and then an early one against Melfort on Thursday. Nipawin. Melfort the earlier one on Wednesday, and then Nipawin the
Two teams do that, Yorkton and Humboldt, during the showcase.
So that's
quick turnaround.
Quick turnarounds there. So again, how is the team going to respond to that? But again, excuses are for the teams that lose the games, and the winning team says we found a way to overcome it. A lot of the situations that we see here are the same for everybody. So it should be very, very fun all week. I expect a lot of close hockey.
It's going to be awesome. It's 12 games. We love the showcase, and now we're going to love it even more with it being at this time. I think it's going to make for such great hockey. Of course, all the games on Flow Hockey. We got a great broadcast crew of SJHL talent coming in to call all the games. So I'm just excited to get it going. It's about the players. It's about the spotlight that gets put on them, and I hope that everyone has a good outing and we get some good hockey.
And nothing against when the showcase was in September, but like you said, the quality of the hockey is going to be even better in November because the teams and rosters have been set and teams have actually been able to practice. Before we go, I do want to pose a question to both of you, and I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
This wasn't in the game.
No, this was not in the game notes, but I thought of it, and I think it's a good question that maybe it'll allow the viewers on Flow Hockey when they're watching the games this week to maybe keep an eye on. Who are some players that you think is going to get some major attention from scouting staffs or from schools in NCAA? Obviously, this is a big chance for players in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League to get noticed by schools. So who are some players that maybe off the top of your head that you think are going to stand out?
Well, there's a lot. Like there's the two ends, right? Like there's the old guys that are really looking, and then there's the really young guys. Yeah. Well, the guy that really sticks out, Buckberger for sure. The number one guy that's uncommitted right now for me is Ryan Duguay of the Melfort Mustangs. He's been so consistent, just banging in goals constantly. But the young bucks are the ones that guys are looking at a lot. I think about like a Cole Keane on Melville. You think maybe a little bit like a Rhett Vedris if he shows for Weyburn, these young 06 birth years. There's some terrific young kids. Maybe the Perlingers get some kind of look from Kindersley as well. So it should be very interesting. I think the D1s and the really, really high ends for the most part look for the slightly younger guys. Not that the dream is ever over. We saw Noah Houle, a 20-year-old, get a D1 to Lindenwood not that long ago. So again, the dream is never over, but should be very interesting. And I hope because it's a little bit later in the year and there's a little bit less competition with maybe other showcases. That there's a lot of scouts here, and I think that's a terrific move that the league made to move it here for that reason as well.
So many, Jeromy. It's a question that you can't narrow down into one, as Nugie just did, hammering off 6 or 7. But yeah, I mean, if you look at just goaltenders, Daza Mitchell, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of good goalies. Yep.
There's a lot of good goaltenders in there. Connor Toohey, we expect to get one as well, a 19-year-old.
Kind of wild that he doesn't already.
Yeah, so he's another player. Braxton Buckberger, again, a couple 20-year-olds trying to find a spot. There's a lot.
Yep, there's a lot of eyes on the SJHL Showcase here in Warman. And it's going to be a great 4 days for the SJHL Showcase. 12 amazing games, which you can all watch on Flow Hockey. Rory mentioned we have a great broadcast team, both on camera and off camera, and it's going to be a great 4 days of hockey. Before we go, though, we have to give a big shout out to all of our great sponsors in the SJHL, because without the sponsors, we wouldn't have been able to do this show live on location. So a big shout out to all of our great sponsors. Of course, UPL, our presenting sponsor in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for all of our programs as well. Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SGEU, SGI, Capital Auto Mall, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Lotteries, and so much more. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, these shows would not be possible. And of course, if you want to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League during the SJHL Showcase, like and follow us across all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you'll find all the highlights from the SJHL Showcase and all season long. But most importantly, if you can't make it to Warman, you can watch all the games on Flow Hockey, which gets going at 4:30. And Rory, you got the first game. You'll be on the first game.
Yeah, Weyburn Flin Flon. Can't wait for it myself and Ben from Melfort there.
There it is, right on the screen, right there.
So quick.
It's my first live look at the Flin Flon Bombers. Watched a lot of them on Flow Hockey so far this season, but first live look at the Bombers, and I'm going to get a lot of them as well, just with myself being a part of the Humboldt Broncos team. I'll see Flin Flon play Weyburn, then they got one more game at the Showcase, and then the Broncos go to Flin Flon for 2 this weekend. So I'm excited to see what they can bring, and like Nugie said, don't count out the Weyburn Red Wings here in Game 1. This is going to be a good game.
It's going to be a great game. Well, we're all very excited to bring you all 12 games at the SJHL Showcase. And more importantly, we are very thankful for you tuning in to SJHL Weekly live from Warman. It is going to be a great 4 days. For Rory McGouran, Jamie Neugebauer, my name's Jeromy Corrigan. This has been another great edition of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL show. Social media platforms. Most importantly, though, enjoy the games this week at the SJHL Showcase.